coming up on the Q30 Newscast.
Quinnipiac students issued suspensions for hosting large gatherings. Hear what the university said about it.
An interview with Professor Kuchera regarding the coronavirus procedures.
And see how a local Hamden hotspot is being helped by the Barstool Fund.
All that and more coming up right now on the Q30 Newscast. Welcome to the Q30 Newscast. I'm Joel Agrippo.
And I'm Melanie Carreri. We have a lot to cover tonight. Let's start with some developing news.
Quinnipiac officials met with Hamden's Planning and Zoning Committee, and they approved the construction for the new Health and Wellness Center. Hannah Mursky has more.
The Hamden Planning and Zoning Committee just approved construction for the new Recreation and Wellness Center that's a part of Quinnipiac's 10-year master plan. Students can expect to see fences up around the tennis courts as early as mid-March.
And there definitely are upgrades that are needed. I think the Planning and Zoning Committee approving this is the right step in the next direction for not only attracting Quinnipiac students, but upgrading our current experience in the fitness centers.
The Vice President for Facilities and Capital Planning, Salvador G. Filardi, says no changes or redesigns will be made to the existing recreation center.
So it's not our intention to renovate the existing building, but we will do some renovation, sprucing up of the corridors so that when you walk through the space, it will all feel like kind of like new space.
Though there are no changes now, there are plans to change the old recreation center in the future.
In our master planning, we're looking at what other needs need to happen in that space and how do we improve it. There is a small project to modify some of the weight area after the new addition is built.
The Recreation Center will implement sustainable ideas such as green space, photovoltaic energy, and using the runoff water from the roof. Filardi also explained that students will not have a tuition increase since the budget was planned as a part of the annual budgeting process. For Q30 News, I'm Hannah Mursky.
Quinnipiac has released its latest COVID-19 numbers. There are 11 new positive cases. 8 of these cases are residential students, while there are 3 off-campus students. There are 17 active cases right now.
Governor Ned Lamont has announced that Connecticut will continue its age-based approach to the COVID-19 vaccine eligibility. Age is one of the strongest factors in contributing to COVID-19 deaths, with 96% of them in Connecticut occurring in people over the age of 55, according to Connecticut.gov. Governor Ned Lamont has set a timetable for when each age group can receive vaccinations. On March 1st, it will expand to age groups 55 to 64. March 22nd will be ages 45 to 54. On April 12th, it will be accessible to ages 35 to 44. And on May 3rd, it will lower all the way down to age group 16 to 34. Speaking of the coronavirus and vaccines, our very own Hepzibah Rajan spoke with Professor Lisa Kuchera about some of the new developments and procedures regarding the virus.
Connecticut has also come out with their latest dates as to when they're going to give out the vaccines. So what does the vaccination procedure look like? Just for those who haven't got it yet.
So this vaccine is a 2-dose vaccine. So the 2 vaccines that are currently being administered are made either by Pfizer or Moderna. So it is 2-dose, either separated by 3 or 4 weeks, depending upon the vaccine. So you do need to be able to make the appointment and get that second dose that's there. It is a vaccine that is going to confer immunity against the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So it's basically to make it so that we remember how to be able to deal with the virus, so that if we come in contact with it again, we're really prepared to be able to deal with it.
So moving on from vaccines to double masking, because it's become quite a thing now. What is your opinion on that?
So yeah, it's a tough one. From a scientific point of view, double masking is good. From a social perspective, we can't get people to wear one mask or to wear one mask correctly. I still see a lot of people that have their mask not covering their nose. So certainly 2 masks are going to do something that is going to help. So what happens is people wear a surgical mask, and what happens is you can actually see that there's air kind of coming out of the side. You see it's not a tight fit on the sides. And so virus is going to be coming out of that, and their virus can be, going into that. So it's not going to be as secure. If you could wear a surgical mask and then put a cloth mask over top of that, You now have 2 layers. So 2 layers is certainly going to improve. But what it really does is it just secures the mask really tight to your face, gives you a better fit, and therefore you're going to be much more protected and much more, less likely to spread that virus to other people.
Students have been temporarily suspended after allegedly hosting 2 off-campus gatherings this past weekend. Chief Experience Officer Tom Ellett sent out a warning to students stating that social gatherings could put in-person learning and campus life on hold. Ellett also mentioned if students are held responsible for gatherings, they will be suspended for the rest of the semester, including remote learning, without any refunds of tuition fees. President Judy Olian and Vice President of Equity and Inclusion, Don Sawyer, sent an email to the Quinnipiac community on how the university is planning to implement a 10-point plan to advance racial justice. Vanessa Blasi has more on the story.
Last Saturday, Vice President for Equity and Inclusion, Don Sawyer, sent an email speaking out against recent violence towards Asian American and Pacific Islander communities.
We're happy it's getting acknowledged, but we feel as though it should have been acknowledged maybe a little earlier.
We appreciate it. It's just that an email is just an email, and the email will go away in our inbox eventually.
Students believe the email was important. However, it was just the beginning of what needs to happen in order to spread awareness about anti-Asian rhetoric.
I think that conversations need to be had because these things are happening out of ignorance, and if people learn more about the disease and how to distinguish between a disease and a culture, I think that less crime would be happening and less assumption.
Having these conversations, making people more aware and breaking those inherently discriminatory ideas about us would help make campus a bit more inclusive and more welcoming to us.
Club members are hoping Quinnipiac has a plan to fix this issue in the future.
There needs to be more, direct action. Yes, I know they have their 10-point plan for increasing diversity on campus and making it more inclusive. I just hope that they also find a way to address it in another email for us.
Altogether, the Asian Student Alliance Club will continue to fight the discrimination Asians are facing, now in solidarity with Quinnipiac. Reporting for Q30 News, I'm Vanessa Blasi.
Connecticut is getting more than $550,000 to help develop affordable housing. The money is going to NeighborWorks to develop affordable places to live in the state's 3rd district. Neighborhood Housing Services in New Haven is getting $290,000. The rest of the money is going to the Mutual Housing Association of South Central Connecticut. This past Monday began National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. The goal is to shine the spotlight on eating disorders by educating the public, spreading a message of hope, and putting life-saving resources into the hands of those in need.
The Counseling Center is a place where we do support and help students who are struggling with eating disorders. And, that is something the university has made available to all students. And so we encourage students to come and really use our services.
This NED Awareness Week, we invite everybody to have a seat at the table. A laptop through the Quinnipiac Technology Center has been something that students think could be a frustrating process. Sarah Goldenberg, who is the IT support assistant, talked about how this upgrade is needed now more than ever.
We have a lot of requests of loaner laptop. People break their laptops, and it's really needed. A lot of people are requesting them and keeping them for a week. Sometimes it's usually 3 days, but people need them for longer, and we don't have that many laptops, so it would definitely help the tech center and the students.
The People's United Center for Women in Business awarded $7,500 towards faculty and student research. The award supported research that allows women to achieve their professional goals. Q30's own Luca Triant spoke with PUCW co-director Dr. Julia Felicigella about the awards.
We look at an explanation of the alignment of their research with the center's mission, and then they talk about community impact from their research. We really liked how they identified, not just the alignment with our center's mission, but also the impact that their research will have into the community.
The question why is simple to ask, yet this three-letter word has a different meaning for everybody. Qthon hosted Ignite Your Flame, an event where everyone's uniqueness and questions of why were embraced. Q30 collected Venmo donations from students between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. that benefited For the Kids, a nonprofit organization that feeds children in need. In return, students received a lantern that would be lit that night for a ceremony in the BurkeCon court. The Student Government Association hosted a virtual forum for seniors last night. The webinar allowed seniors to ask questions about what the plans are for graduation, along with a meet and greet. Q30's Grace McGuire spoke with senior class president, Olamide Boat-Duchel, about the topics that were covered.
A lot of feedback we got when graduation was announced was that people want to know what was going on more. So Emily thought of doing an open forum kind of thing, like more often, like at least once a month, to update students what we're working on. So we're also combining it with meet and greets. People know who are the who is representing them on their cabinet, and we'll just be mostly covering commencement.
Any suggestions or concerns made by the senior class will be addressed by the SGA.
Quinnipiac student government to the United States government. A lot has happened over the last week in the world of politics. John Surratt is here for more.
Thanks, guys. And now for your political update, let's start in Texas, as last week, the state of Texas got hit with a massive snowstorm that cut power across many homes and towns and left many Texans fighting for their lives. Despite these circumstances, however, Texas Senator Ted Cruz decided to go to Cancun on vacation after his text messages with his wife were leaked, instead of fighting the weather with his fellow Texans. Cruz was quoted by saying that it was obviously a mistake, and in hindsight, he wouldn't have done it. Going to D.C., Congress started the hearings for the Capitol riots that happened on January 6th, where current and former law enforcement leaders of 4 different agencies were questioned. This is the first public testimony about the deadly riots, with more questioning to come in the following weeks. Another hearing with leaders from the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, and the FBI is to be scheduled. Staying in D.C., senators started confirmation hearings for President Joe Biden's nominations. Those started Tuesday and include Attorney General nominee Merrick Garland, Interior Secretary nominee Debra Haaland, and Health and Human Services Secretary nominee Xavier Becerra. Those hearings are still currently ongoing, but the Senate did confirm Linda Thomas Greenfield as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and Tom Vilsack as the Secretary of Agriculture. That's all from politics. Back to Joe and Melaine on the desk.
Hamden's third crime forum was held today online at 7 p.m. The crime presentation and community resolutions discussions began in January. The forum was held on Zoom to address the efforts taken due to the increased number in crime recently. All members of the public were invited to attend. Obviously, there's a lot going on in American politics, but there's also a lot going on in national news as well. Hannah Mursky is here to give us the rundown.
Thank you, guys. The U.S. is still seeing an unforeseeable future in the rise of COVID-19 cases. This past week, America has surpassed 500,000 deaths. In just the first 10 months of coronavirus arriving in the U.S., 300,000 American lives were lost, and from mid-December, another 200,000 passed away. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention gives us the data that about 1 in 670 Americans will have died from COVID-19 in the past year. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris held a ceremony in memory of all the lives lost by lighting 500 candles. Biden stated in an address to the nation,
"This nation will smile again. This nation will know sunny days again. This nation will know joy again."
In a more positive light, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said today that the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine is ready for authorization after meeting all requirements. The FDA's Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee will meet Friday to evaluate an immediate issue of emergency use of authorization. This vaccine, if recommended by the committee, will be the third vaccine after Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech to be recommended by the committee. On February 4th, Johnson & Johnson submitted their vaccine data stating an overall effectiveness of 66%. 100% of hospitalizations and deaths were reportedly prevented by the vaccine. Johnson & Johnson's vaccine only requires one dose, so it will come easier for healthcare providers. Protesters in Rochester, New York, took to the streets after the grand jury decided to not press charges on the police officers involved in the killing of Daniel Prude. A video of Prude's arrest showed the police physically restraining him by placing a hood over Prude's head. Prude's family says he was in a, quote, mental health crisis, end quote, when the police arrived. Protesters were outraged that the criminal justice system let police officers involved in killing a Black man be found not guilty. An internal police investigation will keep the officers on leave for the time being. Though there is so much more to talk about, this is all the time I have for the national news update this week. Back to you guys.
We've had a lot of snow this past week, a lot more than I'm sure a lot of us would have liked. Grace, please tell us that we're done with the snow, at least for a little bit.
It is warm and sunny all around Hamden right now. In surrounding towns, the temperature is hovering at around 50, like in Torrington and New London. As for Norwich, it is 51 and very sunny. The 7-day forecast is looking like springtime, with the warm temperatures of the last few days continuing into next week. Today there was a high of 53, and now towards the night it will hit the mid-30s. The next couple days the high is in the mid-40s, the low just hitting below 30. On Thursday, the high is 44 and the low 24, and Friday a high of 42 and a low of 29. It'll be nice and sunny like today as we finish off the school week. You can expect rain on the weekend, but it might actually hit 50 on Saturday. It'll be warm and rainy on Sunday as well, with a high about 47 and a low of 39. The warmer weather will continue into next week. There might be some rain in time for morning classes on Monday, but again, highs around 50. As for Tuesday, it'll be nice and sunny with a high of 38 and a low of 29. Back to you guys.
Aiden Barrett is here to give us an update on what's going on in the Quinnipiac sports world, as well as how some former Bobcats are representing Quinnipiac in the National Hockey League. Aiden?
All right, let's start it off with some pro hockey. Couple of QU alums, Devontae's wires one from the point, beats Marc-Andre Fleury clean. The former Bobcat puts the Avs up 3-1, one of his 2 points on the night. Connor Clifton would also be representing Quinnipiac at the NHL Outdoor Games this year, getting the secondary assist on this Pasternak laser right here. Carter Hart yanked in this one. Bruins take it 7-5. Quinnipiac men's basketball, hot. Winners of 3 in a row, teams of Iona and Ryder, led by first-year Taimu Chenery and junior Tyrese Williams, combined for 73 points over the 3-game win streak, along with Jacob Rigoni, who has been an absolute fiend under the basket, 23 rebounds in the 2 games against Ryder, adding to his team-leading 114. 106 of those on the defensive side. Bobcats just 1 game back of 500, 8-9. Conference play here on out for the men's ice hockey team on back-to-back dates with St. Lawrence and then a series against Colgate to wrap up this 2020-21 season before the tournament. Bobcats have a record of 7-1 and a goal differential of plus 17 against these two teams, including a 9-0 win over Colgate back on February 17th. Quinnipiac sports and alumni doing their job. Back to you guys.
Thanks for the updates, Aiden. Due to the ongoing pandemic, Barstool founder David Portnoy started the Barstool Fund to help aid small businesses, including local Hamden hotspot Enchiladas. Kay Pattyfoot has more on the story.
Hey Dave and the staff at Barstool Sports.
Enchiladas restaurant, home to Quinnipiac students on Friday nights, has been suffering from the pandemic like many other restaurants.
And the other part of our business that's really hurting is the Quinnipiac students. They would come in here over the for Fridays and Saturdays, and now we're not getting any of that.
Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports founder, set up a $500,000 fund to try to help restaurants get to the next month until the coronavirus pandemic ends.
To qualify for money from us, you have to still be paying your employees. Your payroll has to be on. All right, so that's rule one. And then after that, it's what do you need the money for? How much do you need?
Charlie submitted his video and got this call soon after.
We got your video and your story on Enchiladas, and we want to help you guys out. It's the exact type of businesses we're looking for.
We're very excited. It was incredible. We didn't, we weren't sure if we were going to get it or not. And when Dave called me, it was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. It was totally awesome. This time of year is slow anyway, but now with the pandemic, it's just been really, really bad.
Charlie is hopeful that Quinnipiac students will get to come back here this spring semester as COVID-19 guidelines are changing. In Hampton, Connecticut, I'm Kate Pattyfoot, Q30 News.
That's all we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us on the Q30 Newscast. For everyone behind the scenes and the producing staff, I'm Joel Agrippo alongside Melanie Carreri. Good night from Hamden.